This is a RedFM Vancouver podcast. Make sure you hit subscribe for more great content. For further info, log on to redfm.ca.
ਸਾਡੇ ਐਜੂਕੇਸ਼ਨ ਮਿਨਿਸਟਰ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰਨਗੇ। ਉਹ ਦੱਸਣਗੇ ਕਿ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਕੀ ਪਲਾਨ ਹੈ, ਯੋਜਨਾ ਕੀ ਹੈ, ਜਿਹੜੀ ਇਹ 2 ਦਿਨ ਦਾ ਗੈਪ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਲਿਆ, ਇਹ ਕਿਉਂ ਲਿਆ। Honorable Minister of Education, Mr. Rob Fleming. Minister Fleming, good morning.
Good morning to you.
Thank you very much for joining us. Could you please tell us that, or answer those parents? We were talking this morning to the parents here. There are so many parents who don't want to send their children to school. Will they have an option to have their children virtual learning facility?
Well, there are some choices for parents in British Columbia in any given year, and in this pandemic year. One is to attend in-person classes under the safe BC Centre for Disease Control guidelines that we're putting in place in schools right across the province, where school will look a lot different, will be done safely. The other is to register for online or what's called distributed learning. We have 72 distributed learning providers in BC, and parents can register with any one of them. And the third option is really around homeschooling, which there are several thousand families in BC that are currently involved with the homeschooling program.
No, that's fine. That homeschooling was there forever. But would your school system have a virtual learning, online learning facility like it was during the years of months in March and April?
Right. So the hybrid or the remote learning environment that was put together after we emerged from lockdown. No, the emphasis right now is on in-class instruction because it's so important to start the school year as strongly as possible. That's the whole reason why we have made a Herculean effort in the province of BC to flatten the curve and to keep our communities and our schools safe by having low transmission rates out there.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, and lots of people agree with you. But in case some parents are not comfortable, some parents do not want to send their children to school, then they will have the option to get their child at home, and they will get the online learning or virtual learning, whatever you call the facility, will be given to them.
Yes, and as I said, there's 72 programs around BC that offer remote learning or distance learning. But what I would encourage your listeners to do who are parents is to wait for information that's coming from their school district, coming from a local school about what in-class instruction will look like. It's going to be very, very different. The entire plan is designed around limiting interactions between students and staff, keeping them safe. Schools are going to be well-stocked with supplies that emphasize all the layers of protection that you've heard Dr. Bonnie Henry talk about, including hand hygiene, including the kinds of supplies that we need, personal protective equipment for teachers and staff and students. All those things are going to be available. Those are fully resourced by the Ministry of Education. And school's going to look different. The way we circulate in the building is going to be different. Staggered drop-off pickup times, bell schedules. Recess will be different for kids. But, when we have everybody literate and COVID aware in the school system, looking out for one another, looking out for themselves, that's how you safely restart schools. That's what you saw in countries like Denmark, who returned to in-class instruction. Mm-hmm. That's what we're...
Let's talk about BC. Can you give us a list of urban secondary schools with large student population that will have a hybrid model?
Yeah, no. So there's a section on that in the BC Centre for Disease Control guidelines about hybrid learning in large, dense secondary schools. I watched with interest yesterday a video that was put out by the superintendent of the Surrey school system, Mr. Jordan Tinney. So there's clearly work going on about scheduling and timetabling that right now. There will be information forthcoming about the changes that you'll see in terms of semesters. Some schools are going to a quarterly semester system where students will take 2 courses at a time, some of which will be done through an online delivery program. So there are districts around BC with large secondary schools that are working on those plans right now, and they'll be communicating them with families. And
No, you said that urban secondary schools with large population will have this hybrid facility. Where we can get a list of those urban schools?
Yeah, those are being worked on right now by school districts. So a lot of them are in Metro Vancouver, and I know that we've had learning teams and administrators back on the job now for a couple of weeks, working on exactly that, planning out their schools, their timetabling their instructional programs in accordance with the health and safety guidelines that were issued by the provincial health office.
So when that list will be ready so people can see it?
Well, each school district is required to post their plan by August 26th. They're developing them between August 17th and 21st. So you're starting to see, as I said, some communication about what high school will look like from a number of different district leaders. So I think parents need to pay close attention to some of the communications that's coming out from the school system and the schools that their kids are connected to.
So once again, I want to ask, because people were calling on open line that parents who cannot or who would not or are not comfortable sending their children to school on September 10th, so they all will have the availability of online learning. When you say 72 districts, that's not all BC?
56 districts have those programs, and then there are a number of independent options as well. So, but parents have the right to enroll in any distributed learning program, no matter where it is in BC.
Oh, I see.
But again, I would really encourage parents to receive specific information about the school that their families are connected to. Listen and wait for information on what the safe return to school looks like. We've worked with each school district on making sure that those plans are being developed and communicated with families. And I realize that there's some answers that people want to have today or yesterday, but they're coming they're forthcoming in the coming days. And that's, I think, the best way to make an informed decision. I would also encourage your listeners to put BC and Canada in perspective. We live in one of the safest jurisdictions anywhere on the planet during this global pandemic. We have done so well under the guidance and leadership of Dr. Henry and her team. A lot of people are looking at American news, and I don't think that's helpful to compare Canada and British Columbia, one of the safest places in the world, to what is...
No, I agree with you, Minister, but lately, yesterday, when the number was increasing to 85, and a lot of people got concerned, specifically when the Chief Medical Officer of Alberta said that I'm highly recommending that all the teachers and students should be tested before they go to school, before the opening of school. Do you plan something like that?
What we have in British Columbia is a robust testing system so that anybody that is part of an exposure...
No, testing all the students and staff before entering the school.
Well, that's a question really for the health minister. I can't answer that, but we have a testing priority system in BC that has effectively identified where new cases arise and has contained outbreaks in lots of settings around the province. We had a problem in long-term care facilities. Government has managed that extremely well. Our problems right now are really around a specific demographic, 20 to 29-year-olds, and I don't want to pick on them because these are the same people that help us with our banking, perform essential retail functions, and live their lives responsibly and serve us so well. But there are some people who are not taking summer as seriously as they should. That's where the new cases are concentrated. That's a problem. This is not summer vacation as it normally is. We're living in a pandemic. People have to be looking after themselves and looking out for one another.
That's true. At the same time, Minister, some parents have told me that their children are going to private schools and they are emailing parents that if they're not comfortable sending their kids to school, they should have a doctor's note. Are you planning something like that for the public schools also?
Well, that's our advice to any child or family right now who has an immunocompromised condition or any health condition, any underlying health condition that gives them concern. And there's a couple of things that schools will do in response to that. One is they can find an area of the school that reduces interactions and keeps students safe. The other is to support them through a remote learning program. So anybody who is worried about that, who has that in their family or in the child themselves, should consult with their family physician and get into contact with them.
So the parents now have to prove that their kids are at risk for them to receive education? Is that how it is? I mean, a lot of kids cannot go to school because they have grandparents at home whose immune system is compromised.
They should seek advice from a physician, though, just to make sure that what they think might be putting them at additional risk, in fact, does so. And it's always good to hear advice from a physician. The doctors in British Columbia have worked so well under this pandemic. They follow the science. They understand who this virus puts undue risk towards and who it doesn't, and can give and are in a position to give critically important advice.
Minister, thank you very much. I understand you have to go to another meeting. Anything in closing?
Just a word of thanks to all of the administrative staff in districts and school sites across the province. They have sacrificed their summer breaks to work tirelessly to meet with their occupational health and safety committees to redesign schools and to do the preparation work to make a safe return to school in September possible.
So 10th of September is the confirmed date now to go to school?
That's right. September 8th, all staff returns. September 10th and 11th is a gradual reentry of students, and that'll start with an orientation on how kids can keep themselves, be COVID aware and keep themselves safe within the school with their peers.
And the cohorts, the groups will be 60 students in one group?
Well, the classroom is the basic building block. So, when you're looking at British Columbia and the investments we've made to reduce class sizes, this stands us well. Kindergarten, on average, is 18 students in British Columbia. Primary school is 20 to 22 students. Even high school classes average in British Columbia 22 to 23 students. And that will remain the basic building block of instruction in schools. The learning groups is really around how you take breaks together, how you use the playground, how you physically distance outside, how you may enter and exit a building. Mm-hmm. So the cohort is a public health principle that is designed to make sure that students don't intermingle with everybody in a school.
Don't you think that 60 is too many?
Well, 60 is really how you stagger recess. It's not a classroom of 60. We have to be clear about that. The classroom is the classroom. It's really how you organize activities that might be outdoors that involve more than one classroom full of kids. It doesn't mean that they're all mingling. It just means that they're also using the building to make sure that one cohort isn't mixing and interacting with another cohort. That's a public health principle that is at the foundation of safe school return plans in jurisdictions throughout Canada and across the world. And it's the one that the public health officer, Dr. Bonnie Henry, embedded in our BC Centre for Disease Control guidelines.
In some provinces, cohorts are 20 students.
Well, that would be a class, and that remains the fundamental organizational unit in our school. That has not changed at all.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate your time, Minister. We'll speak to you again.
Thank you so much, Harjinder.
Thank you. Education Minister Mr. Fleming galbaat kar rahe san.
Thank you for listening to another Red FM podcast. Don't forget to hit subscribe and check out our Red FM Canada YouTube channel. For further info, log on to our Red FM social media platforms or visit redfm.ca.